This is probably one of the most exciting and one of the most applicable presentations we do all year. So thank you again for joining us. My name is Cathleen Toomey, Vice President of Mission Advancement at Riverwoods. And it has been my great pleasure to meet Bryant Johnson, interview him on the Seniority Authority podcast, and he has agreed to come and share some of his tips with you today. So before we get going, I have a couple of housekeeping announcements, which I will work on, which is basically that you're on mute because Bryant and I are going to have the conversations, but I always want to hear from you. So submit your questions through the Q&A and submit them as we talk, and we will make sure to answer all the questions before the end of the sessions. We always want to know how we can improve, and if you have ideas of what you'd like to hear from Riverwoods, please pop them in the chat. For those of you who may not know who we are a continuing care retirement community, a CCRC, which is an insurance product. So all of our contracts are regulated by the state of New Hampshire. We report to the state annually, and the government considers that a CCRC means you are prepaying and insuring for your future potential assisted living, memory support, or nursing care needs. So a portion of your one-time entrance fee and your monthly fee are tax deductible. There are 1,900 CCRCs across the country. We are the largest family of CCRCs in New Hampshire, independent, not-for-profit. I always say that a CCRC is a lifestyle choice. You have to enter when you can live independently, and you are free from a lot of home maintenance and chores. So you have access to activities, programs, education, a lot more social options than you have when you're living at home. And importantly, when you choose a CCRC, you have stayed in control of the choices that are in front of you for your future, which is if and when I need care, who is going to provide it, and where am I going to access it, and what is it going to cost? So those are all taken care of for you. One way to think about it is we have 3 different communities, Exeter, Manchester, and Durham, and we are managed by 2 different boards. So anyone who has interest in learning about Riverwoods, please also pop a question in the chat and we'll send you more information. It's a great way to live. So let's get to Bryant Johnson. He has served over 40 years in the United States Army Reserves, with 12 of those as a member of a Special Forces Airborne Unit. So you can't mess with him. He has over 25 years as a personal trainer to various military and civilian personnel, including high-level federal court officials, justices, judges, attorneys, and clerks. He has been the personal trainer to Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the author of one of my favorite fitness books, the RBG Workout, How She Stays Strong and You Can Too. And we are going to enter into a great conversation and discussion with Bryant about how he got to write this book, which he never intended to, and what his wisdom includes. So Bryant, thank you so much for being with us today. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's an honor for me to speak with you again, Kathleen. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. It's just
Awesome.
About a year ago or 2 years ago that we met in person in DC. Was it a year ago?
I'll say 1.5 years just to be safe.
Okay. All right. That is great. And you have
Yes.
wonderful stories and wonderful attitude about fitness. I would love to have you as a personal trainer because you are so enthusiastic and passionate about the goal of functional fitness. And as I understand it, you were in great shape already, being in Army Reserves and Airborne Unit, but you decided to become a personal trainer because you yourself wanted a way to work out more. Is that correct?
Well, actually, to be a personal trainer, the whole thing started because my aunt made this great cake. And I grew up in the South, and I really love to eat great cakes and desserts. And really,
Me
I said,
too.
well, in order for me to eat all of these things I really like to eat, I got to make sure that I can work out and take care of my body so that I'm able to eat all the things. So that's the hidden secret behind it. But then later on, I realized the importance of taking care of your body and increasing your quality of life, and all of that just kind of came along with it.
That's the reason that I think all of us start working out is at some point we're like, we like to eat more than we like to work out, and we have to do something about it.
Yes,
But
yes.
your most famous client, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, didn't come to you because she liked cake. She came to you because she had a health crisis. Is that right? Can you talk a little bit about how you first met?
I met Justice Ginsburg. She had just finished her last bout of chemotherapy, going through her first bout of cancer. And her husband looked at her after she had gone through this and said, look, you look like somebody who just came through a concentration camp. And that's literally what he told her. And he says, we need to find somebody to get you stronger. She reached out to a couple of trainers. I guess no one really fit her bill. And she contacted the late uh, Justice, not Justice, but Judge Kessler. And her and Judge Kessler were great friends. And I was actually Judge Kessler's personal trainer. And just word of mouth happened. And Judge Kessler said, well, why don't you try Bryant? I received a call saying Justice Ginsburg wants to talk to you about personal training. I didn't really think anything about it because Justice Ginsburg used to be at the Court of Appeals in our same building. There were two Ginsburgs at that time. And then I was thinking, okay, it's Judge Ginsburg. So I kind of called up there, Judge, you called, inquired. He said, no, that would be the other one at the Supreme Court. Once again,
Okay.
it still, it just wasn't, it didn't really dawn on me what it really was about. And so I went to the Supreme Court. I've been to the Supreme Court before, so it wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm going to the Supreme Court. I went, met her, Justice, and she said, hey, I got your name from Judge Kessler. And I just finished my last bout of, you know, and I want to get stronger. What do you recommend? I looked at her and I says, well, Justice, I'm going to have to fill out this paperwork. You need clearance from your doctor. And then we're going to end up doing push-ups. We're going to be doing lunges. We're going to be doing squats. We're going to be doing a whole lot of weight-bearing exercises. And she kind of looked at me side-eyed, like I was stuck on stupid and locked on dumb. And I repeated, I said, yes, we'll be doing push-ups, squats, lunge. We're going to be doing a lot of functional body weight movements. And she said, well, how many times a week do you think I need to do this? I said, well, let's start off at least twice. And that's literally how that conversation happened. Got her paperwork approved from her doctor, and we literally started working out. And it was simple because the justice was a person of few words, doesn't like small
Okay.
talk. And that's how it started. In the beginning, that's how it started.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of
Hey.
challenges here with my screen sharing. So I apologize for that. But let's go on, and I'm just gonna see if I can stop sharing. Hold on one second, please. Okay, having some technical difficulty here.
Hey, modern technology, it's okay. We have
Yeah,
technical
yeah.
difficulties when we start working out and training also, so it's okay.
Okay, good. So what I would like to really talk about with you is she started working out, and at one point, the Washington Post called you the most important man in DC that no one has ever heard of because you kept her very strong.
Yes.
And tell me, how challenging was that for you? And how challenging was it for you to work with her?
the biggest thing I can say about the justice, the challenge was me trying to see what levels she was or how it was affecting her, because the justice didn't like small talk. So me as a trainer, I'm always assessing, adjusting, and adapting the workout to my client. How are you doing? Fine. Is this okay? Yes. So she was like one-word answers. And so I wasn't sure how the workout was affecting her, whether she liked it, whether she didn't. One time I called her trainers and I said, well, I'm not sure if the justice is getting anything from the workout. And they literally told me that if she didn't like you, you wouldn't still be here. Okay.
Okay.
I left it alone, and then we consistently work out. What was my barometer, which helped me gauge the justice, is because the justice would be going to the doctor, getting checkups, various things here and there. One particular checkout, I remember this clearly. The justice told me that the doctor said, I don't know what you're doing, but keep it up. You have gained 5% bone mass since our last time. And so she was kind of like smiling inside, but she was very calm and cool, not letting me see the excitement. But she was like, you could tell the enthusiasm when someone's talking to you and they're really excited about that. And so, but she was calm and she was like, the doctor said that. And so I was like, really? I said, good. Now let's get down and do these squats. I mean, that's what I look for. So whenever she would have appointments and everything would come back great, or they don't know what you're doing, but keep it up, that was my cue. That was my barometer to let me know that, yes, it's working and it's going.
That's phenomenal. Now, when she first came to you, she had no routine at all. So you started, and she was age 60?
66, if I'm not mistaken, 66.
Okay, 66. So I just want all of our listeners to hear this. 66 years old, just got through a bout of cancer, did not have an exercise routine, and started training. And she gained 5% in her bone density.
Yes. Now you have to understand, she does a lot of sitting. She does a lot of legal work. That is her, she is nocturnal. So she's going to work all hours of the night. Yeah, she did a couple of little things. She said was like a Canadian workout where she kind of did some stuff like this, throwing your hands up in the air, do a little stretching here and there. Okay, at least she did something. My thought is when I saw the justice, and I think in the capacity of the 5 forms of fitness, the 5 components of fitness, and we have muscle strength, we have muscle endurance, we have cardiovascular, we have flexibility, and we have body composition. So those are the components of fitness that I approach to any client. So now the cardiovascular, okay, she moves, walks around, we can take care of that. That's easy stuff. But I'm looking at, she's now chemotherapy.
Yeah.
Colon cancer, a cancer survivor. Okay, now the chemotherapy, it's gonna damage your muscles. You're gonna feel weak. My thing is to try to get you stronger. As we get older, as we become more senior, our body becomes a little less, the muscle mass is a little bit, not as much. The bones become a little more sensitive to the effects of gravity. So my objective is to make you stronger, to make your quality of life much better. In order to do that, it requires movement. It requires moving of weight, whether it's body weight, free weights, tubes, or anything, but it requires movement. The greatest thing with the justice is that she was almost like a blank slate, because she didn't have any prior experience as doing any type of formal exercise in her elderly, not elderly, but in her senior status. I could just do whatever I want.
See, and I think that represents so many of our listeners that, we do become more sedentary as we get older. And it's intimidating to go into a gym and to start lifting weights. But if you do that so that your quality of life is better.
Yes.
And so that you can do more in your life. And you can't, how often is it where we at 60, because Justice Ginsburg was stronger at 80
Mhm.
after working with you than she was at 66, despite cancer.
Yes. First
So
bout,
that's
second bout,
they're
third bout of cancer.
comfortable.
Yes. I like to look at it as a fine automobile, a fine machinery. The worst, the most cruel thing that you can do to a fine automobile is to just let it sit there and not be moved. That
Mhm.
is the worst thing that can happen. It will not function right. It will not. So our body is the greatest machine known to mankind. It is made to move. The worst thing that you can do for your body is to sit and do nothing for hours on end. Modern technology has made things so easy for us, so convenient, that if you think about it, people were healthier back in the 70s and 80s than they were in the 90s and now because of modern technology. Riding a bike. I remember kids, we used to go outside and play and run, ride a bike. I remember somebody, my sister said something to my niece and said, yeah, your grandfather used to ride a 10-speed. And she said, well, what is a 10-speed?
Oh, jeez.
What's a 10-speed? Really, you couldn't wait as a kid to get a bike. You know, you go
Yeah.
out. Yeah, so yeah.
Now you can't wait as a kid to get a phone. It's
Yeah,
all about the
yeah.
phone and the video game and
And you have
all
those
that.
strong thumbs, right? You have those strong
I
thumbs.
know.
Yes.
Strong thumbs are not helping us.
No,
So
no.
when you talk about all the different aspects of fitness,
Mhm.
where did you start with Justice Ginsburg, and where would you suggest our listeners start if they are thinking about, as I am hoping they are, starting a fitness routine after listening to this podcast? What area of fitness should they focus on first?
Your
Oh,
state, your state of mind.
okay.
Now you're saying, how did I start with that? Because the mere fact that the justice reached out to me and she was willing, as the commercial Nike says, just do it. Well, you have to first show up. The
Okay.
justice was willing and committed to show up twice a week. So anyone who is looking at, who wants to start working out, commit to yourself mentally. My mother didn't start working out. My mother is now 82. She didn't start working out until she heard about Justice Ginsburg and all of these things. And she asked me, and I said, Mom, I said, I love you immensely. I says, but I cannot care more about you than you care about yourself.
All right.
And that was the thing that sparked. So to your listeners, you have to first of all commit that this is what I want to do. You're not doing it for anybody else but for yourself. This will help your quality of life. You'd be like, well, it hurts when I do this. Well, you're doing enough, it stops hurting. The body is made to assess, adjust, and adapt to whatever you put it up against.
Assess, adjust, and adapt.
And that's what I do with my clients. That's what I do with Justice Ginsburg. I assess the client. Your body is assessing what you're doing. Okay, now, if you're sitting, the body is assessing that you're not doing any type of movement. Okay, so now I'm going to adjust to you not doing any type of movement. Okay, guess what? The lungs aren't going to work as large. The legs aren't going to be as strong. And then it's going to adjust. But guess what? If you start doing something, well, let's just say I'm going to walk outside for 5 minutes, or I'm going to walk up a hill for 5 minutes. Okay, that first time, the body's assessing what's happening. What are you doing? I think this person is doing something. We're not sure. Let's just sit back and wait to see if this happens again. Let's say you do it again. Now the body says, okay, you're doing something. Let's make sure these muscles get a little sore to see if they really want to do this. So now your body is assessing exactly what you're putting it up against. Now the body is going to have to adjust, which means now your legs are going to get stronger. Your lungs are going to get healthy. You're going to be more flexible because you're starting to stretch a little bit more. Once you continue that, then your body adapts to it. It adapts. And so
your
before you know
body
it,
wants this. Your body welcomes this. And just because you have aches after you do your first workout, doesn't mean you should stop. It means you should keep going.
Matter of fact, you want that
Yeah.
because it lets you be in tune with your body. Sometimes it's a difference between I have an ache here. Why would you? What are you taking a pill? What did you do? So when you have a pain, what do you do? Assess what I did, adjust and adapt. Oh, I did this 5-mile walk. So that explains why I'm a little sore than normal. Now you become more in tune to your body. Whereas if you didn't do that and you mean my leg hurts and you haven't done anything out of the ordinary, okay, maybe I want to get this checked out. I'm not playing pickleball, or I'm starting to play pickleball. Okay, now I see why I'm a little winded. I'm a little tired. And remember, the workout may not take effect for 24 to 48 hours before you feel something. And then you're like, oh, what is that? I never felt that muscle before.
Yeah. I didn't know I had that muscle.
Exactly.
I love another thing, another piece of advice you gave your mom when that you had mentioned to me before when you said, I can't care more about you than you care about yourself. And you said something about a mirror.
Yeah. I said, take all your clothes off and look in the mirror. I said, if you like what you see, okay. If not, then do something. I mean, the choice here, Michael Jackson had the song, Man in the Mirror.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to make a change, then you start with the man in the mirror. You start with self. If you want a miracle, then be that miracle. If you want to be healthy, a good body never came in a box or a pill. If it did, everybody would have one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
The silver bullet, and I don't care how, all the research, every now and then he research. Oh, they did a research. 10,000 people started doing this, and then they noticed, guess what? They've gotten better. Why? Because they started moving. They started exercising. You can get to a point that you can go to a doctor, they'll give you all the treatment, do all of this, and then the doctor finally say, well, you know what? You're just gonna have to change how you eat and start exercising. Well, why did you tell me that in the beginning?
Yeah, and we know generally that people say that if exercise was a drug, every doctor would write a prescription for it.
Yes.
And one of the questions that I have, or one of the questions that came up in the Q&A, and I do want to say, if you have questions, pop your questions in the Q&A, and we are going to choose 10 people who submit questions to receive one of these books that Bryant is going to sign for you. And I'm telling you, this is such an easy book to go through. I have used it myself, and it's so easy to tell you exactly what you should be doing. Has little pictures of Justice Ginsburg doing things, simple things you can do at home. I really highly recommend this book for people who want to start, and maybe you don't want to go to a gym, maybe you don't have a lot of equipment. Just get this book, get a tube and some weights, and you're on your way. So I highly recommend that.
Plus, once I sign the book, you'll have my contact information, and you'll be like, Brian, I got stuck like Chuck. I don't know what to do. The first thing I'm going to ask you is, what are you doing? Yeah. I'm not doing anything. So then the next thing I'm going to tell you is do something. And once you start doing something, then you reach out to me again, and I'm going to tell you how to adjust, assess, adjust, and adapt. That's what we do.
So our first question, which is, I think, what a lot of people have, is how do I work out while protecting my joints that have arthritis?
All right. So now your joints already have arthritis. What does arthritis make your joints do?
Okay.
Typical question, right? What it kind of stiffens up, kind of locks it up a little bit. Okay. So if arthritis is already stopping your joints from moving, then guess what we're going to do? We're going to do the opposite. We're going to just start moving it, because the more you do it, the better it's going to be. Strengthen. I had one person told me, she said, I'm about to get a total knee replacement. So what can I do up until then?
Right.
And I told her, I says, well, since you're about to get a total knee replacement, There ain't nothing really you can do to mess it up. So continue to work out. So then
Yeah.
after you get your knee replacement, your body's already in condition to start working out and working out. So it's going to make your recovery better. With the joints and arthritis, start moving. Just move the body so then it will help it. Yeah, you may be a little stiff, but guess what? You'll be able to move freely. I have an
Yeah.
aunt. I have an aunt that works out every morning. She gets on the treadmill and she walks an hour and a half. Now, this is the analogy that she told me. She said, if you imagine a pair of pliers, and you know that screw in the middle of a pair of pliers, if that screw got rusty, the pliers are worthless. So what she does is continue to move, and that's just like that screw on the pliers. If you continue to move, it won't get rusty.
Yeah.
You're still functional.
You know, I love that because the answer is almost never don't work out. The answer
Never,
is always working out. And
never, no, no.
one of the things that I feel like you learned from Justice Ginsburg is her attitude toward
Yes.
this, because you continued to work out with her through other bouts of cancer. You want to talk a little bit about that?
We went through 3 bouts of cancer, and one of the models that I have for my business is always, it all begins with attitude. And if you add the letters of attitude up, A being the first letter of the alphabet, T being like number 19 or 20, if you add all of those letters up, it equals to 100. That means 100%. Yes, attitude. It all begins with attitude, but it also comes with that dynamic wisdom that we developed. And what that dynamic wisdom is, you got 2 things that's going to either set you up for success or failure. One is going to be a prison anchor, and the other is going to be an elevation anchor. It's going to be one of those 2. One is going to be working and the other one's not, but they always are going to be battling each other. And so with the Justice, every time a prison anchor came up, whatever bout of cancer she had, that prison anchor would come up. And that prison anchor is exactly what it says. It's an anchor that's something that's going to hold you down and confine you. A prison keeps you restricted and not allow you to be the better version of you. So when the Justice would come to me, this bout of cancer, this is what's happening. My job is to activate the elevation anchor. The elevation anchor, because you showed up, Justice, we just need to see where you are.
Okay.
Just show me what you got. I never cared what the Justice couldn't do. I never care what a client can't do. I only care about what you can do. So if it only means that you can go and walk to the gym and then walk back because you don't want to walk in the gym yet, okay, then guess what? Walk to the gym, turn around, walk back. If you want to go and sit down and have a glass of wine, then have a glass of wine. Now, the next day, I want you to get up. I want you to walk to the gym, touch it, come back, have another glass of wine if that's what you. I don't care. Just do something. And so, with each bout of cancer that the Justice had, I remember, yeah, okay, we weren't able to do this particular thing, but she showed up and we had to assess what you can do, not what you can't do. Remember, not what you can't do. That is the 4-letter word that none of my clients and anybody, they're not allowed to use that 4-letter word. There are other 4-letter words that they've used, and I don't have a problem with that, especially when I had to start doing some planks and some lunges and some words slipped, and you'll never know, but yes, some words did slip. But can't is the major word. Okay, so I don't care what you can't do. I only care about what you can do. And so I remember the Justice could barely walk, and she would walk in, and I says, okay, let's see what we got. And so the mere fact that she took the mental to show up.
Right.
That was the key. So she's like, well, I don't know if I can do any push-ups. Well, I don't know. Let's get down on the floor and see. Now, the push-ups was at the tail end of the workout. So in order to get to the tail end of the workout, we have to go through the early part of the workout. And she really didn't know what I was doing. And so we would go through the workout, then we'd go down. I says, okay, well, let's just get down on the floor. Then she would get down on the floor. Then she would get into the push-up position. Maybe she'd go halfway down. But think about it for a second. I had her get down on the floor. To everyone listening, I will give you a quick workout just right now. If you get down on the floor and get up off of the floor, then get back down onto the floor and get up off of the floor. If you do that 10 times, you let me know what your heart rate is. Let me know if you start sweating. The mere fact that you got out of your chair, got down onto the floor, and then got up off of the floor and sat back down in the chair, that is a functional exercise. It is a body weight movement. It uses almost all the muscles of your body. Just do that particular exercise. So for me to have the Justice do that in her frail state was a way of seeing where you are and being able to adjust and adapt, and to also let her know mentally where she is.
Right. Right.
Showing up.
And that's the key to what we talk about when we say functional fitness, which is as we get older, can we get up out of a chair without using our arms?
Yes.
Is our balance strong enough? Are our legs strong enough? Can we pick up a grandchild? Can we hold groceries? It's all about the quality of life and the amount of energy and time you put in now to improving your fitness will benefit you the longer you live. This is really critical.
Yes.
For us to remain active and vital, because we have the benefit, this generation is living longer than any other generation. So we have to put a little energy in to caring about our bodies so that they are better vessels for us in the future.
This generation, think about it. Think about the foundation of this generation. This generation is a generation that is a hard-working generation. We have the best of both worlds because we remember when there were just a rotary phone.
Yeah.
We remember when you had to get up and change the channel on the TV, or you had to move the antennas, or you had to stand like this just to get the signal with one arm up and somebody else hold the antenna. We had to walk to different places. We rode bikes. We sat in the car, and if the person was short and they slid up, the whole seat slid up. We used to drink out of water hoses. We walked. We went outside and ran just to be running. So our bodies, the foundation was already established that to move. When you see little babies, they put those little white orthopedic shoes on them. So it adjusts and is training the body at an early age to do this. So I say that the population, the generation now, we know what we got to do. Let's just do it. Just show up. What's your excuse?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Because you have some as a personal trainer, you hear a lot of excuses. And I think you have some perfect responses to those excuses.
There probably is an excuse that I haven't heard, and there are some good ones, but I remember I was working out with Justice Breyer once. And Justice Breyer, he's a very talkative person, unlike Justice Ginsburg, is 180 degrees different. But I remember I was telling Justice Breyer one time, I said, yeah, people always have excuses on why they want to work out. And so I always use Justice Ginsburg as a measuring stick. And they were like, well, how so? And they said, well, when they tell me that they're too busy to work out, I said, well, are you a Supreme Court justice? Are you busier than they are? And he was like, okay, good point. And then I said, well, are you older than Justice Ginsburg? And she was like, at that time I was using the analogy. I think she was like in her 80s or maybe early 70s or something like that. And I said, are you older than Justice Ginsburg? And they were like, okay, another good point. No. And then it says, well, they'll be like, oh, I got a bad back. Oh, I got a bad knee. And I'll be like, well, Justice Ginsburg has been through 3 bouts of cancer. And we work out consistently twice a week without hesitation. And so Justice Breyer remembered that. And then the next time I saw him, he said, Brian, I quoted you to somebody. Now I'm thinking, me, the personal trainer, I got a Supreme Court justice who quoted something I said. I said, what could I have possibly said to him that would make him want to repeat it to somebody else? And that literally was the saying. And that's kind of like what made my mother think too. I say, look, Justice Ginsburg started when she was 66. I said, here she is 80 plus and she still works out twice a week. The only time we missed it is when I got deployed for 3 years. And then I still had somebody who subbed for me. And then when I was finished my deployment, and not long before I came back into the country, I got a message from Justice Ginsburg said, hey, are you back and you ready to train? I said, how did you know I was back?
Hey, she's the Supreme Court's justice. She has her
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah. And we picked up and we started. I remember she left the White House early for a dinner so that she can make our workout.
Wow.
That lets you know the mental commitment to yourself, to your body. You know, she realized the results early on that she started to get stronger. She started to feel a little bit differently. I remember one time she fell in the bathroom and I got the report. She told me she fell. She went to the doctor. And I says, okay, well, how you feeling? He said, well, you know, they did some x-rays. I'm just a little sore on my rear end. I says, good. Now let's go down. Let's do some more squats. Let's do some lunges. Let's go do these push-ups. Let's go do these chest press. Let's go to pull downs. Because once again, how many people have fallen? My grandmother, for example, my grandmother fell. She broke her hip. She never walked again.
Oh.
Never walked again. So as we become more senior, as we become more experienced in life, our bones become more brittle. Okay? There is no pill that's going to take care of that. Weight-bearing exercises. The body will normally assess, adjust, and adapt. As you start doing more and more, your body realizes it's going to have to get stronger. The muscles will get stronger. The muscles are attached to the bones. The bones are going to get strong because the muscles are stronger. So if you do happen to slip and fall, because it's going to happen, we're going to fall, or you're going to go down and do some exercises down to the floor and get up, you won't worry about breaking everything. And then if you do break something, guess what? Your body will heal quicker.
Right, right. And you can increase your bone density. You can actually improve as you get older.
Yes.
So
what's your excuse? Tell me.
What did you learn from Justice Ginsburg? What working out? She learned a lot from you. She got stronger. How did working with Justice Ginsburg affect you and your practice?
Well, I mentioned dynamic wisdom, and it's what I learned, both me and the justice together, and just being able to assess, adjust, and adapt, but just life trials and tribulations. It's all about just showing up. And when I talk about a prison anchor and an elevation anchor, that's exactly what it is. Life is there to give you this challenge. How are you going to handle the challenge? What are you going to do about the challenge? The justice showed me that, you know, that commitment. What's your excuse? You know, she didn't tell me without her even realizing it. She showed me the blueprint and to be able to share with everyone else. So I tell people, when you think of Justice Ginsburg, if you're in the legal field, they're like, oh, she's a Supreme Court justice. Oh, every legal scholar, every lawyer, they know who the Supreme Court justices are. They know now more because of social media, but you didn't know back in the day. You just heard there was a Supreme Court justice. And so when you think of Justice Ginsburg, the chance of somebody becoming a Supreme Court justice, you got a better chance of being a professional athlete than becoming a Supreme Court justice. So she seemed unobtainable. She didn't seem realistic. She didn't seem really real until we started working out, until she agreed to have this book written, which wasn't my idea, but she did approve it. And then I had the justice write the foreword to the book. Now, I'm not
how did this book come about? So someone called you and said, please write this book?
No, it started with Justice Scalia. Justice Scalia. When Justice Scalia died, Justice Ginsburg was the next oldest person on the bench, and Justice Scalia died all of a sudden. So as society, we have a tendency to overreact. So they started analyzing, looking for a story. Who's the oldest Supreme Court justice on the bench now? Who has medical issues? And so it's well documented, Justice Ginsburg, cancer, whatever. And then there was a report that was done. There was an article that came out that I was her trainer. It wasn't my word, but it was hers. And so that's how the report came out. So I had someone that reached out to me and said, hey, I want to go through Justice Ginsburg's workout from beginning to end. And I said, well, no problem. I said, but I'll check with the justice. If she says it's okay, I'll do it. If not, I have something else better to do. And how it happened was he asked me, he said, I heard the justice does push-ups. Does she do like female push-ups? And I said, there's no such thing as female push-ups. They're just push-ups, whether they're on the wall, off the wall, on the floor, on your knees, they're just push-ups. There's no such thing as female push-ups, girl push-ups.
Thank you.
And there's no such thing as that. A push-up's a push-up. So I took this young Thundercat through Justice Ginsburg's workout. But before, I remember asking her, and I said, Justice, I have this reporter who wants me to take him through your workout from beginning to end. The justice is very calculated when she speaks. She thinks about things, and she thinks about how this could affect this and that. And so she knew that if I had a reporter going through her workout, he was going to write a story about it. So the justice thought about it. Then she kind of looked up at me, because, you know, I'm taller than she is.
I
And
know.
I said, Justice, I was reporter wants to go through your workout. If you say okay, I'll do it. If not, I have other things to do. She looked at me, she paused, and then she said, I hope he makes it through the workout.
That's great.
That's it. That's all she said. Now, that's what she told me. But in my mind, she probably meant make sure I just take him through the ringer.
Exactly.
So I literally took him through Justice Ginsburg workout from beginning to end. And when I say beginning to end, from the very moment the justice comes in, how you doing? Let's get on a treadmill or the elliptical. We're going to warm up for 5 minutes. Then we're going to get off of there. We're going to do rotational exercise to loosen up the synovial fluids in your joints. Then we're going to do some stretching to increase that flexibility. Then from there, we're going right into the weights. We're going to go to the chest press. We're going to go to the pull down. We're going to go to the flies. We're going to go to the leg extensions. We're going to go to the leg curls. Then he says, when do we do push-ups? Not yet. So then the person was talking. He's like, wow, I understand the president does this, this, and this. Is this a good workout? I said, so we're not here to talk about the president. So he was talking again, and he brought the president up again. I said, okay, let me ask you this question. Are you talking about my commander-in-chief? He's like, yeah, you are in the military. Exactly. So I am not allowed to comment about my commander-in-chief. So that left that alone. Then he was asking him more questions. Says, you know, me and the justice don't really talk that much when we work out. We just get to it. And towards the end, he started to feel a little bit. And so I asked him, I said, you're about what, 22, 26, something like that? He said, yeah, I'm about 24. I said, okay, you're about a third the justice's age. You weigh twice as much as the justice weigh. So you should be able to do double what she does, right? He's like, yeah, easy. She's like, what, 60, 70, something? Yeah, I could do that. I thought to myself, got another one, boss.
Here we go.
Here we go. So as we start going through the workout, he started getting a little winded, started sweating a little bit. I said, need some water? Got him some water. I asked him a couple other, he was asking some questions. I said, well, you're a young Thundercat, aren't you? And he didn't know what a Thundercat was, as I had to educate him on an old cartoon called the Thundercats. So once we went down, we went through most of the workout, then we was getting down to the push-ups. He started struggling a little bit. He started shaking. I said, you can do them on your knees if you want to. He struggled a little bit, had to get some water, had to take a little break. Then he wrote a story about this workout. And the title of the workout was, I barely made it through Justice Ginsburg's workout. I felt like I was 86 years old a few days later, and I almost had to catch the struggle bus.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah, that article alone, I had a couple of judges in the court, you know, they saw the article, they thought it was funny. They said, oh my God, this is hilarious, blah, blah, blah. I had a book company reach out to me and say, hey, we want to do a book on Justice Ginsburg workout. I thought it was just somebody else trying to pitch another story. I said, okay, well, why are you calling me? And they says, well, we can do it, but we would like to have you write the book. I'm like, I'm in the middle of going through school. I'm taking up some classes. I'm about to go do equal opportunity for the military. So I'm about to leave for like 6 weeks to go train for that. I said, look, I will send it to the justice. If she agrees, I'll work on it. If not, I have other stuff to do. Remember, everything goes to the justice. It's not my idea. Somebody approached me about it. They saw the workout. They heard about the workout. Gave it to the justice. A couple of days later, me and the justice went to train. And I use a routine. Hey, Justice, how are you? Fine. Didn't get any sleep. You know, small chit chat. We don't really chit chat that much. This time the justice says, so And when she said so, that means she's going to follow up with some conversation.
Yeah.
And she said, so I understand that you're going to be an author. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Justice? Well, I told them that I will agree to the book as long as before it goes to publishing, I get the final look. And then whatever I change is final. And I was like, okay, Justice. And so I really worked on the book. My biggest fear of the book itself was the criticism from my contemporaries, my fellow personal trainers out throughout the world, because this was a workout that I designed with Justice Ginsburg in mind, but not just Justice Ginsburg in mind, but anybody who is starting from the beginning. What do we do? What do I do? Well, before you stretch, you want to warm up the body. It's like, think of your muscles as like taffy. If you get taffy out of the refrigerator and you try to stretch it, it's going to be hard. You may break it. So let's say if we have taffy and you leave it out in the sun, you let it warm up for about 5 minutes, it becomes very pliable. You can pull it. So my thing of the workout, Justice is very sedentary. So we're going to try to structure this workout for her, but anybody else who's just starting. What do I do? And that's how this workout came out. That's how the book came out. I thought about the foreword. They said, well, the foreword is the person who is the expert and who knows about this book. Well, there's only one person who would know this workout better than me, and that would be Justice Ginsburg. So I asked her about, would she write the foreword? And when I asked her about it, it was almost like you see the joy in a kid's face when you take them to some place, a candy store, they were like this. And I'm not calling it just a kid, but you can see she was like honored to write the foreword. And she wrote the foreword, which I thought, who else is going to believe this workout but the person who I take through this workout twice a week, every day, every week for 20 plus years, but the person herself. And so that's where it happened, and that's how the book happened. And then, it just kind of went on that whirlwind tour that, well, if a 60-plus-year-old Supreme Court justice can work out and she can do push-ups and she can do this, then why can't you? What's your excuse? And then that led to Stephen Colbert coming down, working with Justice Ginsburg. Yes, if you haven't seen the clip, everybody Google Stephen Colbert working out with Justice Ginsburg. You will see when they get to the push-up point, Justice Ginsburg is knocking out the push-ups. I look over at Stephen Colbert and I said, why are you on your knees? Because the justice was not on her knees. He was on his knees and he said, huh, what? And so that inspired him to want to come down and interview the justice, but he used this as a little pitch. Oh, I'm gonna come work out with her. And he took it as a joke. The justice didn't. She never took any of her workouts as a joke. She took it very seriously.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. I have a ton of questions here. So I've got, I think, the screen up with your book, but I'm just going to go through some of these quick questions for you because we have just a few more minutes.
Yes, I
of
apologize. I
time.
stopped talking.
Okay, no. Okay. All right. Is there information about improving balance? I'm assuming in the book. So how do you improve balance? I have two questions. One is a dancer that's lost some balance, and one is another person that's lost some balance.
Actually, okay, so now the loss of balance is also because of weak core muscles, because that also affects that. So there are exercises that you see that I do in here with the justice. One is on page where I have her where she stands up and she's actually holding the side. It's on page 114, which is called a knee lift swing. So she's actually holding the edge of the door. She lifts her knee up in the air, she opens it up, and she closes it and she brings it back down. But she's on one leg. So now that is also working the balance, but we're also working opening up that hip and closing that hip. And you're standing on one leg. I also have her stand on the Bosu ball. And the Bosu ball is like a half ball where you kind of stand on it and you're working on your balance. You want to work on your balance? Sure. Stand by a door. Lift one leg or get a chair. Lift one leg. Close your eyes. Bring it back down. then switch. I do have exercises that I do work with balance with the Justice, because balance was very important so that if you do fall, you don't break everything.
Exactly.
I hope
Here's
that
another
answers the question.
really timely question. We do cardio by walking, but how important is it to work out with weights and develop muscle mass? And how many times a week?
It is, I'm not going to say one is more important than the other, but I will tell you that strength building, it is probably one of the most important things to help build muscle mass and to help build the strength in your bones. I would tell you right off the bat to do at least 2 to 3 times a week. 2, if you can't do anything, at least 2, but 3 would be perfect. 3 weight bearing, 2 cardio. Because think
Okay.
about it, you're walking all the time.
3 weight bearing and 2 cardio.
Yes.
And here's someone who says, I've exercised my whole life, but I have osteoporosis and cannot seem to improve my bone density. Any suggestions for the best exercises? It seems like, lifting weights is the key.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
Lifting weights. So what weights are you doing? Now, we don't want to just play around and just do some light stuff. Yeah, you may want to get in there and start doing some squats. I had a client say, I can't do squats. I said, okay, I want you to sit on this chair for a moment. Let me go get you this 2-pound weight. And I got the 2-pound weight. I told the judge, I said, could you stand up for a moment? The judge stood up. I handed her the weight. I said, oh, wait a minute. You sat down and stood up. That is a squat. So guess what? Hold something, sit down, stand up. Okay, that is a weight-bearing exercise. As you get comfortable, then senior population, we've been on this planet longer than anybody else. So go to the gym, demand to be able to do those weight-bearing exercises. Go on off-peak times and get in there and do it. Some places
Don't be afraid of the gym.
Yes. No, you've been here longer than they have.
Good. I like that. I like that. Here's a question I think is familiar to a lot of people. I've been taking a strength class at my local hospital for the last couple of years. I was sick in the fall and out of action for 2 months. I went back to the class in December and have been taking classes 2 to 3 times a week with weights. How long does it take to get back to where you were? I'm getting frustrated.
Okay, so now here's the thing. Remember, I said the body assists, adjusts, and adapts. Okay, think of the body like water. Water is always moving and is always looking for level ground. You need to change it up a little bit. You don't want to be back to where you were. You want to go beyond that. So maybe, you're doing these exercises and the body's already used to it. Change it up. Change
and wake up your mind.
Change it. So you've been doing this class. Okay, you know what? Change the class. Change the class and start incorporating. Now I understand if that could be the only thing that you want to do. Okay, if that's the only thing you want to do, then don't be frustrated. The mere fact that you're showing up and you're doing the class, that's the key.
Yeah.
I remember people who can't show up, who can't take that class. So think about that you're able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I have an interesting question here. Is there a movement or type of exercise that you would not recommend, that you would say avoid?
Whatever that hurts you bad.
Okay.
I mean, if someone said, well, it hurts when I do that. Well, I'm not being funny, but I said, well, don't do that. Do something so if there's something and here's the thing, if you're working out, you get more in tune to your body. You start to know your body, you learn your body. So if you do something that hurts it, it's the difference between a workout sore pain and then a pain because you broke something. So It's like life functioning, if the doctor tells you don't exercise, then there's something wrong. You're about to die.
Right. Okay.
Remember the body's meant to move. So
Yes.
always move.
Here's a practical question. Is it better to do your daily exercise in one long session or break up your routine into several shorter sessions?
So the beauty of it is whatever works for you. Okay. There's some people that they like to get up in the morning and they do an hour and a half in the morning. Some people, they do small chunks throughout the day. Think about saving. If you save regularly small chunks or you consistently do something, there is no, see, here's the beauty about being a personal trainer. What works for you doesn't necessarily work for the next person. So as long as you're doing something, that's all that matters. If you want to do it all in the morning, then do it all in the morning. You want to do it throughout the day, do it throughout the day. You want to do it at night, in the evening, as long as you're doing something.
As long as you're doing it, as
Doing
long as you're doing
something.
it.
Doesn't
Okay,
matter.
we've got another question from a son who gave his mom multiple weights. What weights should she start out using?
So you
She
gave,
gave her multiple weights that have a soft texture that she hasn't used. So now she's going to start using them. What should she start with?
depends on what she's going to be doing.
Yeah,
Okay. First of all, I want you to get her a copy of this book. And then once you get her a copy of this book, matter of fact, get my contact information and make sure you be able to contact me. And then we're going to say, okay, what is it that she's going to do? Depending on the exercise will determine the weight that she's going to do. If that makes sense. So if you're going to, I'm not going to tell you use a 2-pound weight if you're going to do squats, because you're going to need something different. But I may tell you to do a 2-pound weight if you're going to do an overhead press, maybe, because that 2-pound weight or maybe a 1-pound weight might be just enough, depending on if you have any injuries.
Okay, that makes sense. And you gotta start somewhere.
Yes, you got to start somewhere. Sometimes it may not be using the weights. Maybe just the mere fact that she's starting to do something. She may walk for 5 minutes. She may stop, do 5 squats, get up, walk 5 more minutes. Then she's going to stop, get down onto the ground, do a plank for 5 times 10 seconds, 50 seconds, 5 groups. Stop, get up, walk a little bit. Then she's going to go into a push-up position. No, you know what? She's going to stop. She's going to do push-ups against the wall. She's going to do 10. Then she's going to come and then walk 5 more minutes. Well, that was a quick 20-minute workout. You hit a little bit of leg, hit a little bit of chest, hit a little bit of core. As long as you're doing something.
Okay, awesome. Have another question about free weights versus a machine. What do you have a preference over free weights versus a machine for someone that's starting?
In the very beginning, free machines are safer in the very beginning.
Okay.
They're safer because it's only allowing your body to move in this certain plane of motion, this certain track. Whereas when you use free weights, it requires you to have balance and control. So imagine lifting up a box that is full of, imagine lifting up a brick. It doesn't move. Now imagine lifting up a box of water. How the water moves around, slide to side. Well, think of the free weights that way. The free weights are going to move, so you're going to have to balance and control that weight as you bring it down and up. So as you get stronger, I always start my clients off in the beginning with machines if I am accessible to them. You start them off, and as you get stronger doing that movement, then it becomes easier with the free weights. But you have to remember, free weights, you have to balance it. You have to control the weight.
Okay. That's really important.
Yes.
We're at 2 o'clock, so I'm gonna just have one more question. And those of you who did participate and put your questions in the Q&A, we will be sending 10 books out to you that are signed. And we have the QR code to scan to get this book, which I highly recommend for people because it's got everything you could want, and especially warming up. That's really important. One question, 2 questions, sorry.
3, 4.
Are there restrictions or the best, worst exercises for those who have replacement joints, hips, or knees?
The best, worst exercise? Okay, the worst exercise for replacement joints and knees is no exercise.
Okay.
And we laugh and jest, but remember, no exercise is the worst thing that you could possibly do. No. Okay, best exercise? Yes. Do something. I don't care if you go out there and swim. The body is made to move. You never know what's going to be good or bad until you get out there and do it and do something. So am I going to tell you to go out there and do CrossFit? No. But you may want to go dance, you may want to swim, you may want to walk, you may want to hike, you may want to cross-country ski, you may want to ride, you may want to do something. Ride a bike. Okay.
Excellent, excellent. And the last question is, how do you choose a personal trainer that fits what you're trying to achieve?
Interview them. Interview them.
Okay.
Just interview them like you're going shopping for a car. You know what you want, and then trust a resource. You can go to ACE. I'm a member of ACE, which is the American Council of Exercise, or there are other reputable places that you can call. Make sure that they have that support. They have that education. They also have references. So check those references. It's just like a job interview. So why would you trust somebody with your precious cargo, which is your body? Why would you trust anybody with your body if they don't have the knowledge, they don't have that bedside manner? You're not getting the warm fuzzies when you're training with that person. That person doesn't have your best interest and mind at heart. Then that's not the person for you. You're investing your money with that personal trainer. So it is your responsibility to do your due diligence, just like the justice interviewed me. She called, she asked around, then she pulled me in, she interviewed me, and then I asked questions. So I'm not sure if she's liking the workout or not. They said, well, if she didn't like you, you wouldn't still be here.
Right.
And that's what you do with your trainer. If you don't like your trainer, that trainer doesn't still be here. They have to be having your best interest in mind. I apologize. Talk with passion.
Advice. No, that is great advice. And again, I think, really, if you read this, then that will really help you. We have to close right now, so I want to say thank you so much for your time and wisdom, and I hope everyone takes Bryant's advice to heart, because this will only help you in your future life. Do stay tuned if you are interested in what's going on in the real estate. We have an update and a guide to how to sell your house in the spring in this very hot market. So that's Tuesday, March 19th. You can scan the code here, and we'll be sending it out. Again, thank you so much for your time and your interest, and thank you to Bryant for being here. It's been a real pleasure. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.